All right, everybody, welcome to Studio B. I am your host, Pastor MDH. Thank you so very much for joining us here on the set. Remember, wherever you are watching us from, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever that may be, like, follow, subscribe, and make sure you get in those comments. Make sure you tell me if you like, love, or hate what we're talking about. All comments are welcomed here on the set of Studio B. As you can see, I am not alone on the set today. I have a guest with me, and we will have a fascinating discussion for you guys. I want to introduce you to Miss Sabrina Noble, who is a licensed financial professional. She is also a retired Houston Police Department for 26 years, you just said.
Yes.
And has found her footing in the financial services industry. So, Miss Sabrina, welcome to Studio B. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am great.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, like you've said, I'm a retired police officer, and that was my career for 26 years. I love serving others, so that was a great career for me. And then I find myself in the financial services industry where I'm able to serve my community as well.
So tell us about that transition, because that's an interesting transition, going from law enforcement into the financial services industry. How did that come about?
Well, it began because I needed to understand for myself how to save money, how to properly protect myself, and a lot of the things that I was learning after being introduced to the National Campaign for Financial Literacy, I knew that more of us needed to know it and understand it. So I became a part of the campaign myself. I became a licensed professional where I'm able to share the information we need to just properly protect ourselves, create wealth, pass it on to our children.
So we're going to be talking about a couple things very particular in regards to finances. Now, those who have been following the show for the last couple of years, you know that I talk about money a lot on this show. I talk about it from two different standpoints of what the Bible says about money and the practical application about money, and especially not limited to, but especially to our community. Whereas most of us in my generation were not taught about financial literacy. We just kind of learned it on the fly. You know, you go to work, you work hard, you pay your bills. That was kind of the financial guru advice that most of us got. And you didn't get until later on in life to where you figured out that formula really don't work. So what led you on this path to really being as passionate about financial literacy as you are?
Well, when I was introduced to the campaign, the information I heard made sense. And for a long time, I searched for the information because I knew that working a job was not going to get me ahead. I always had several jobs. I worked my main job, and then I would have side jobs because I knew the only way to get ahead was to make more money. But then a lot of us make money, but then don't know what to do with it. And so in our campaign, we offer financial literacy workshops that help me to understand each part of building wealth, passing it on, and just having a solid foundation. So
talking about in the building of wealth, let's kind of specifically dive into that. So this course, your financial literacy course, kind of talk about what that is and some of the things that it offers when you talk about understanding money, which is, I think, for me as a, I spent almost 15 years as a financial advisor with Chase Bank, so I'm very familiar with the financial services industry. And of all of my clients that I used to give financial advice to, I can probably count on 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 hands how many of those were returning customers or clients that looked like me. And I think one of the hardest things that I had to overcome at Chase was getting people to take the first step, because there was a lot of embarrassment. You know, I'm 35, I'm 40, I'm 50, and I'm not where I should be, right? So trying to get over the hurdle of embarrassment and saying, hey, okay, that's fine. Wherever you are, let's just start there. So with this financial literacy course that you have going on, what's some of the things that you guys talk about?
So the first thing we talk about is making sure we build a strong financial foundation. And that's protecting our most valuable asset, which is our ability to make money. So we start with the protection. Then we show our clients how to get out of debt. You know, a lot of us are in debt and we're paying all the fees and interest. And if we're just paying the minimum, which we're encouraged to do, that stretches it out. So now we're paying more money. So we encourage people to get out of debt, and we actually show them a way to do that. Then there's the emergency fund. Making sure you have an emergency fund. Most times we don't have money sitting aside. So if something happens, we're charging it. We're not prepared. Most times we're not prepared for a $500 emergency. So it's good to have 3 to 6 months, maybe even 6 to 12 months worth of your monthly expenses sitting aside. And then lastly, investing. You know, a lot of us like to invest first because it sounds sexy. But if we're not prepared with a solid foundation, one big loss could wipe us out. And so we show people how to do it in the correct order.
So now we need to start chopping some of this stuff down into bits and into pieces. The Bible says that as a man thinks, so is he. When you look at your bank account is a reflection of how you think about money. And the literacy that can break you free, and I often talk about money like this, Sabrina. I believe what the Bible says about money, that 19 parables that Jesus talked, 21 of them had to do with money. Jesus talks about money more than he talks about heaven, hell, faith, hope, love, forgiveness. He said, where your treasure is, there also is your heart. But with all of that, I do not believe that God has called everybody to be a millionaire, billionaire, live in River Oaks, drive a Bentley. But I do not believe that God wants us borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. I do believe that God wants us to be obligants to the things in which we put our name to. So we don't need to have bill collectors calling us, right? So the financial literacy is about teaching people the basics of money and how to make money work for you. Not necessarily to have somebody living in a, ivory tower, but giving them the information to get out of the place that they're in. But what you just said there is, what do you think is one of the biggest hurdles that you are encountering with the financial literacy course, trying to get people to buy into it?
The first thing is taking the first step to actually want to know and make yourself available to know the information. The workshops we offer are complimentary, and yet most times we have to beg people to even listen. But the information itself is life-changing. It starts with the basics, increasing your cash flow, taking your budget that you already have, no matter how big or small, and just saving a little bit of it or putting it aside. Most people think, if I don't have $150,000 or $250,000, what's the point? But no, start where you are, and then you can grow from there. And so we just give basically the formula for building wealth. And we know it takes money. We know it takes time. We know it matters where we put our money. And so we just educate people so that they know they have options.
Now, this is something that we're going to yell from the rooftops. The secret sauce of building financial freedom is this four-letter word that many of us don't like to hear. It's time. Many want to jump out of the fire right into the fire pan. So as soon as I come to the course, the next week, I want to start seeing some results. I want to see people start investing in me. They'll call me in 2 weeks. What is it doing? What is it doing? This thing about time and money go hand in hand. You need time in order to start building assets. And when you're looking at where we are right now as a community, there was a recent Barna poll that came out last year that said 65% of all Americans are not ready for a $500 emergency within their house. 65% of all Americans could not afford a $500, like if you had to get $500, your engine broke, whatever may happen, it's $500. 65% of Americans cannot afford that. And so we're in a time right now to where money is very, very important. But how do you get people to bridge the gap? How do you get them in? Yes, the information is life-changing, but how do you get them in?
Well, it starts with a conversation. I'll even use my own experience to just let people know I'm no different than them. Don't be ashamed of where you are, because we all start from nothing. And so if you want to know, the information is here. And it, like I said, it just starts with a conversation. And if someone's willing to have the conversation, then I think the door is open.
So let's talk about some of that stuff that you have in there. When you talk about using your own example, I filed for Chapter 13. I've been very, very open about my, my financial struggles. Me and my wife on WIC, Women, Infant, and Children in the early stages of our marriage, CHIPS, all of that stuff. I didn't learn finance. I'm 49 now. Next month, I didn't learn money until I was around about 34, 35. So I learned very, very late in life. However, the information was very daunting. Someone would come and offer that, but getting beyond the stigma of not having money and how it affects you emotionally is a hard task. And it's a very difficult mountain for a lot of people to climb. I think a lot of people, if you were to go and tell them, hey, I want to teach you how to do this, I want to teach you how to do that, many people will not disagree with the information in this book. However, it is that first step. And that first step is very scary because, one, I got to be vulnerable. And one of the things that we protect at all costs is our finances.
Right.
Like our people are the only people that wear their wealth. So, we look good on the outside, but we got $600 in the bank, right? Or less than that. So how do you get beyond the stigma to say, hey, I understand, but let's start somewhere? How do you do that with that information?
Well, we paint the picture of where you are. Well, first of all, starting with the conversation, we need to know where you are first, and then where you see yourself. Where do you want to be? And once we collect the information as to where you are and you tell me where you want to be, set your goals, then we put a plan in place to help you to reach that destination. And it just starts, it's like a building block. We start from the ground up, making sure that we have a solid foundation, meaning you have a family. Or if you don't have a family, it's just you. Make sure you have protection. If something happens to you, if you can't go to work, make
now,
sure.
What is protection? What do you mean?
So let's say I'm single and I'm on my own. Something happens to me and I can't go to work. I want a policy that'll take care of me. So maybe it'll give me some living benefits. Let's say I have a bad accident. So, I'm going to call my agent and say, hey, this is what happened. So now I don't have to die to be able to benefit from my policy. Now it's going to kick in and send me money to take care of me while I'm going through whatever this.
So life insurance, disability insurance, and things of that nature.
All of that.
Okay, so talk a little bit about that and tell me why that's important.
Well, just from the past few years talking to people that actually make a decent living, it surprised me to know that a lot of people say, you know what, as long as I have enough to bury me, and that's all they think about insurance, not knowing that insurance is so much more. What if you don't die? What if you hurt really badly? You have alive and have dead. You want something that'll take care of you and your family so that you can still continue to live the life that you're accustomed to.
So insurance is a big deal when we're looking at our counterparts. Little do a lot of people know that insurance is the number one way that wealth is transferred from generation to generation. Most of the people that I know in my generation, we're worth more dead than we are alive. And so we talk about insurance a lot. However, insurance is that scary type of subject, right? Because when I'm talking about insurance, I'm talking about what if and the bad part of what if. What if I get into an accident? What if I'm paralyzed? What if I die? Those kind of questions are they're very difficult to have with people because they don't want to think about that. So the importance of insurance just kind of gets, falls by the wayside because of the depth of the conversation. How do you overcome that?
Well, it's funny you say that because we go and buy car insurance with no questions asked because we have to have it. We have homeowners insurance because we have to have it. But we don't think about having life insurance. It's the same principle. What if? Well, we already know we're all going to die at some point. So then what is going to happen if we don't have something in place to take over where we left off, to take care of our families?
Well, specifically to our demographic, not to exclude any other, but to our demographic, Grandma had that policy that she paid on for years. And then when Grandma died, we found out that policy was only worth $5,000. But through the years, Grandma paid $20,000 on the policy that only paid out $5,000. when you're talking about insurance, it's minute in what it takes to maintain it a month, but the importance of it, I think, is invaluable. So let's talk about some basics about insurance. What's the minimum insurance that one should have?
It depends on.
And let's talk about a death benefit, not a life benefit. So what's the minimum that a person, and an average Joe, he ain't living in River Oaks, he's an average everyday guy, how much insurance should that guy have?
So I say minimum, take care of your final expenses so that you're not leaving a debt for your family, because we all know we're going to have a date. That's the minimum. But then if you have assets, you have a family, and you're still paying on these assets, or you have liabilities, a car note, you're still paying on your home mortgage, you have debt, you want to make sure that you have something in place that'll pay that off and leave your family with something. So minimum, have final expense taken care of, your funeral expenses.
So when you're talking about like specific numbers, and unfortunately, we deal with a lot of funerals here. We've dealt with somebody dying and there's no money. Now there's a GoFundMe, and now the survivors are coming to the church and others to facilitate a funeral where there is no money. And Sabrina, let me just be honest with you. Nobody is excited about throwing money into a hole. No, nobody's excited about that. Okay. But the stuff that comes along with living, the average cost right now of funeral homes, and we're dealing with a lot of them here, especially last year, $7,500. You go over there to Paradise, you go over there to off of Cullen, it's $1,900 just to open up the ground. So when you're talking about funeral expenses, it's a daunting task. But I always share this, and tell me if you agree. I'm talking to a lot of men right now. We've been doing a lot of men's classes for the last couple of years and getting men to understand the value of insurance, that I am responsible for my wife as long as she lives. Even if I die before her, I, her husband, am responsible for her as long as she lives. So if I die, my death cannot stop her living. So at a base level, I tell people, especially with, you can do term, you can do whole life, you can do skinny mixes and all that other good stuff. 10 times your normal income, it should be a basis of what you're getting your life insurance for. I mean, getting $1 million worth of insurance is nothing now, especially for a young guy, which we'll talk about that later. So when you're talking about our people, how do they envision life insurance when you're talking about them? When you talk about that to them?
Well, when we're talking to our own community, a lot of times they have very negative thoughts about insurance because of somebody else's past experience. And like you say, what grandmama went through, paying for years, and it's only worth a little bit. Because I remember myself, my grandmother paying, I remember the insurance guy coming, she pays her money. Well, when she died, it was only $6,000. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people still remember things like that. And so I encourage them to learn the different options, learn that there are different types of insurance, learn about them so you know what they do, what they can do. There are different levels of insurance depending on what you own and what your liabilities are, who you're trying to take care of. Like you said, 10 times your annual salary, that's what you leave your family so that they continue to live the way that they're accustomed to. And then what if you live a long life? Now you need 20 times your salary for retirement, because most people stay in retirement about 20 years. So you want to make sure that you have enough money, you've planned ahead so that you can live the way that you're accustomed to. How much money will you need to retire with?
But it's such an easy, it's easy and then it's not easy. I mean, when you're talking about the pennies on the dollar that it takes to maintain a policy, and considering all the stuff that we do arbitrary, the stuff that we spend over here, the stuff that we spend over there, the knowledge about, okay, if I just, instead of putting that $50 right here, why not put that $50 right here, and then that gives me peace of mind. Like that $50 at that, per month that I'm spending at Starbucks satisfies me for a moment. But this $50 that I'm putting toward my policy really gives me the peace of mind. So I think it's about, helping people to change their mindset. And in the Christian circle, let me tell you, it is one of the most difficult things that we have to do is try to get people to change their mind. It is hard.
And that's exactly what we do. That's why it's so important to introduce the workshop so that they can understand for themselves and they can see it in real examples. But we show people how to reposition what they already have. You're already paying whatever for a Starbucks or whatever you're doing, but just reposition that money in a place that can actually work to build something for you and your family, to protect your family.
So we talked about insurance. I'm a big purveyor of insurance. We'll give your information at the end. But I want all of my listeners, all of my viewers to understand insurance is absolutely vital. And being in the financial services industry for such a long time, I see our counterparts, specifically remember Miss Watson, when her grandchild was born. She came in on a Tuesday. The grandchild was born on a Monday. And she came in and opened up a Tutma account for her grandchild that was just born the day before.
Right.
I mean, just born. And that's just kind of par for the course. My neighbors who are Asians, all four of their kids stayed at the house. The youngest one just left and she's 26, but they stayed at the house as a family so that those kids were not racking up unnecessary debt until they had the financial means by which to support them. That's what communities do, except for our community, right? We just have a different way of looking at money and resources that I think a lot of times is just as what's been passed down. Even if it's not right, Sabrina, it's just kind of been taught. It's been caught by us, and it doesn't work. It didn't work for Mama, right. But that's all Mama knew. So trying to get people to change their mind is a different story. So we talked about insurance. Now let's talk about something that I love. Let's talk about investments.
Okay.
Tell me about investments. What does your workshop talk about with investments?
Well, we leave investing for the last piece of the puzzle.
Okay, go back to the first one then. Okay, well let's follow it in order. Let's talk about what it looks like in that book.
Okay, so like I said, we want to make sure we have a solid foundation, which is protecting what we have, protecting our ability to make money, making sure that if something happens that is unforeseen, we have a plan. And that's what it starts with, a plan. And then we want to make sure we're eliminating debt. And if we have debt, make sure it's as little as possible and we're getting out of debt as soon as we can so that we own and keep more of our money. Because when we're in debt paying interest to someone else, we're fattening someone else's pocket. Mm-hmm. And then to have an emergency fund. As we've seen during this pandemic, businesses closed. Some didn't open back up. People were out of work for a long time. So where we said 3 to 6 months of your living expenses, now more like 6 to 12 months would probably be beneficial. And then lastly, investing. You don't want to get into investing because how much can you live? How much are you willing or able to lose? You don't want to put yourself in a position to where you're losing your necessary means of income. And so investing, you want to make sure you diversify your portfolio. And so that's last on the list. But like I said, the protection is the most important. So
what is your target demographic with the financial literacy course, like age-wise? Or is there a target demographic?
I would say adults who are working. Ideally, everybody can benefit. Young adults think, I have time, but time is on their side when you're young because you're young. The cost of insurance is low. It's a time where you can save money and give it a chance to grow. And that's a form of investing in yourself, thinking about your future, knowing your options. Families. It's important to protect our families. And when you say you talked about a customer coming in right after a grandchild is born, other communities do that. Well, we actually show people how to do that too. We call it $1 Million Baby. You know, you start early, and by the time they're retirement age, you will be able to save, and they could be millionaires by retirement age, just starting with a little bit. So our demographic is everybody, because everybody can benefit. You know, when you're older, you've probably accumulated assets. Maybe you haven't put the proper paperwork in place to protect it and properly pass on to the next generation. Or when my age, I retired at 50, but I still have a child at home who's 10. So I want to make sure that I'm doing things to make sure I'm protecting and solidifying her future.
So I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox here, okay? I'll jump off of it really quickly. From this set over the hundreds of podcasts we've done, and many of them on money, I share, Ms. Sabrina, that money does not care what color you are. It doesn't care about your educational background. It doesn't care what kind of clothes you wear. Money is a formula. When you understand the formula of money, money will work for you. What we have saw in our community, and I'm gonna chase this rabbit trail just for a quick second because I just came off of the Civil Rights Tour. I shared with the team that the last sermon that Martin Luther King preached, that I've been to the mountaintop. I may not get there with you, but I've seen the coming of the glory of the Lord. That one. That's that little excerpt that is pulled out of that 43-minute sermon. But what Martin Luther King was talking about in that sermon was financial empowerment for his people. He was telling them to boycott Wonder Bread, Coca-Cola, to pull their money out of banks and put them in the tri-state banks. What got Martin Luther King killed was not the civil rights movement. What got Martin Luther King killed was because he was trying to galvanize his people with financial literacy. And when he started naming those big juggernauts of his day and telling the black community in 1968, which had a combined net worth of almost $3 billion, to pull their money away from those conglomerates and start getting educated about your money, because when you have money, you got options.
Right.
You got choices.
Right.
When you don't have money, you don't have much choices. So when we're talking about our community and when it comes to money, we really got to be able to get rid of the old way of thinking and then start to progressively get better in how we view money.
Right.
Money is a tool. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it. You know, the Bible, it does not say, for money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. It is simply a tool, but you wouldn't use a wrench to nail something in the wall.
Right.
It would work, but that's not what that wrench was made for. And so when you're looking at money, trying to get people to reorganize their thinking about the money that they have and how I use it is very, very hard. Jesus said it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. Because when you have a lot of money without the proper thinking, you begin to worship the money that you have, and then the money becomes your God. So as you're talking about this financial literacy, how do you, so this is complimentary, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you the question that people ask me when they come into the branch. What's in it for you?
After I've educated a person, now I'm able to help them to put those solutions in place. And it's not me coming to them saying, this is what you should do, this is what you need. Now they understand enough to say, Sabrina, help me put this into place. So that's where the license comes in. We have access to many different companies that offer many different products. So I don't even walk in the door talking about products because I don't know what you need yet. So when we talk to our clients and see where they are, where they want to be, and come up with a plan to get them there, then that's where my license comes in and I'm able to put different solutions in place for them.
So financial literacy is this whole big umbrella, and under this umbrella, so many different facets than when we're talking about money. Again, I underscore the fact that, you know, the word of God, this is not a prosperity gospel, okay? But the word of God does talk about money a lot. a lot, Old Testament and New. Some of the most profound scriptures in the entire Bible has to do with money. So Jesus understands the issue of money and how it affects our everyday life. And money is going to affect you every single day of your life. It takes money to be born. It takes money to die. And it sure takes a whole lot of money in between both of those dates.
Right.
So we're on an uphill climb when trying to educate people about money. And I believe that the previous generation owed the debt to that generation to do better than my mom did. And my mom owed a debt to her mom to do better than what she did. But in order to do better, you have to have the information to help you to do better. With financial literacy and given these courses about what you give, what type of fruit have you seen from that? Like, let's talk about your own personal life, because I'm sure that you've gone through these courses yourself. What has it done in your own personal life?
I'll say immediately when I was introduced to the information, I've always been one who knew I was going to go to work. I knew I wanted to accumulate something, leave something for my children. So immediately I knew and understood what underinsured meant. Because at that point, I actually owned 2 homes and had insurance, because I always believed in insurance, but it wouldn't have been enough to pay off the mortgages. And that was the first thing I did, was to become properly protected. So now if something happened to me, it still belonged to my children.
Now, how does this, see, that's a wonderful feeling. If I am the major breadwinner of my home, by far. If I died and don't have insurance, now my wife assumes all of that burden on top of the grief of losing her husband, on top of the grief of her children losing their father. She has to now assume all of that financial responsibility because I didn't do my due diligence to properly protect the family. Let's talk about that, because I see that, Pastor August sees that, we see that at the church time and time and time again, where the major breadwinner is gone. Unforeseen. He was going to work that day, had a tragic car accident, didn't come home. Now mama is reeling because I still got a mortgage, I still got car notes, I still got college, I still got all of this stuff I need to do. And the major breadwinner's income is gone. And trust me, everybody, wherever he worked is not going to keep sending them checks back to your bank account.
No.
Like, he's gone. So now you have to deal with all of this pressure when if you could just get done the minor stuff in the beginning to, as you say, properly protect yourself, you could have avoided a lot of the heartache that comes along with unforeseen death. So this insurance is really important. Now, would you say that's one of the building blocks to your financial literacy? Is that one of the foundational cores?
That is the foundation to building a solid foundation. That's where you start.
So what else does your literacy course talk about?
So now, this is the a Saving Your Future book. It has all the basic principles about money. 88 pages, easy read, easy to understand. And then our workshops that we offer are offered every day during the week, 3 times a day, except Wednesdays once a day. But when you follow along in the workshop, you can fill in the blank. And you can attend the workshops as many times as you want. The workshops, building savings and wealth, increased cash flow and debt management, preparing with proper protection, your health and your wealth, understanding asset accumulation and fulfilling long-term goals. All the building blocks you need from birth to death, protecting your family, saving for your children's future, preparing for retirement properly. And they're all only an hour long, so 6 hours of your life to change your family's financial future.
So let's come around the cul-de-sac here for a second. The Bible talks about that my people perish for a lack of knowledge. What you don't know is killing you. We're living in an age right now this is the smartest generation that has ever walked the face of the earth. They literally have information at their fingertips, like at no other point in the history of civilization. This is a very, very intuitive, smart, educated generation that we have. The information that can help your life dramatically change is available to any and all. Access to that information is based upon the person's desire to have it.
Right.
We get mad at people that exploit certain things within the law, within the tax system, and say that's not fair. Well, it's not fair because you don't know how to do it. We have to know how to shelter our money from taxes.
Right.
Because Uncle Sam is always reaching his hand deeper and deeper and deeper into our pockets. If you live in the state of California right now, if you make $100,000 a year, 49% of that $100,000 is going to go toward federal and state taxes. So if you're bringing home $500 a week, you didn't make $500, you made $250, but you're living as though you're making $500. And we don't understand these nuances that can help us to get ahead when the information is available to us. So when we're talking about taxes and talk about investments, can we shift to investments a little bit? Mm-hmm. Tell us about investments. What's the 30,000-foot view of investments?
Well, when we're working and I'll just use when I worked, we had access to different ways to save and invest. Most people don't know about stock market, but that's where they want to invest. Mm-hmm. And I've never been much of a gambler, so I never really liked the stock market, but we show people their options. We show them how to actually get the gains of the stock market without losing their money. And it's all in our workshops.
Now, if you, I'm invested. It's a part of my portfolio, but I'm not heavily invested in stock markets because I don't like losing money.
Right.
So if you don't have the stomach for it, or I'm not going to say that because my licenses are still current, but stock market may be the sexy thing that everybody is talking about, but there is a skill to investing in the stock market. I'm not talking about penny stocks. I'm not talking about, all of those apps that are popping up everywhere, invest $5 over here, Robinhood and all that other good stuff. There is a specific skill, Sabrina, that you need in order to be successful in the stock market. And if you don't have the stomach to ride the stock market, then you need not get in it. There's a whole lot of other safer vehicles that can give you just as much a return, maybe not just as much as some of those other stocks, but can give you a nice, healthy return without the roller coaster ride.
Exactly.
And you talk about that stuff in your workshop, right?
Yes.
So I just want to put that out there to everybody. I'm not digressing anybody from investing in the stock market. If that's what you want to do, that's what you need to do. But I think you need to really do your research and find out what's going on. I hope a part of all of this is understanding our tax codes and all of the stuff that is going on. Everybody that don't know, there was a $720 billion inflation reduction bill that just passed the House and the Senate. It is official law. $349 billion of that money went to Green New Deals. It is going to increase. Listen, I'm not going to get into that. Listen, everybody, watch your money.
Yeah.
Watch your money. Sabrina, watch your money. Everybody watching, watch your money. Okay. Before you go out and buy that new Prada purse, or is that what they're wearing now? Prada? Well, whatever purse, Jordans, whatever you may do, think about that. Because I employ the rule of 10 to 1. If you can't buy 10 of those purses at the time that you can buy one, you can't afford the one that you're trying to buy. Right. So when you're talking about these financial principles, kind of what's some of the things that you want to leave with the audience? Like, how do you want to empower them? Like, I want you to really dive into why this is so passionate. Why are you so passionate about it? Why does somebody being financially secure, why does it matter to you?
It matters because I have seen so many people who have not been secure, or maybe they look like they were secure, and then one thing happened, and then realized they really weren't as secure as they thought. We've talked to people who make over six figures, and they're in the same boat as folks who don't, and who are living paycheck to paycheck because they get comfortable with those low monthly payments, but they add up. I became passionate because I knew that there was some things I didn't understand. I was fortunate that I actually worked a job that gave me a pension, a retirement, and a place to save, even though I didn't fully understand. But I know other people may not. Our grandparents, maybe some of our parents had the luxury of having a pension, having some savings, having Social Security to count on when they retire. Well, we question whether Social Security is going to be there.
It will not.
A lot of people don't have retirements on their job or pension. And we know that most of us aren't saving the way we need to. So then what's left if we don't have the knowledge? And so I became passionate because I wanted to share what I learned late in the game. But like I said, I was fortunate to have a steady job for over 26 years. And I was in the military. I'm a veteran. So I know that everybody's not in my situation, and so I wanted to help those who weren't.
I want to give an impassioned plea to all of those who are on the other side of this financial mountain. As you look up at that mountain, it's a big one. When the ends are not meeting, you're putting in 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and there's still some shortfalls within the house. At times that can be very, very discouraging. It can be very discouraging to kind of have that kind of internal invasive look into something so personal like your finances. And it takes a great deal of faith, and it takes a great deal of desire to want to get out of that place. And so I want to encourage anybody that is in that place, start where you are, no matter where you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you're making, start in that place. And you got to have the real conversations about where you are and if you want to get out of it. Like, that's the difficult part. You know, even when you're talking to anybody about anything real life changing, getting them to acknowledge the place that they're in is the most difficult part of any conversation. When you're talking to married couples who are going through, getting them to understand that they're not on the same page and that they're in a bad spot is the most difficult part of the conversation. So with us, as our people, for me, Sabrina, when I had to take my child to the doctor and he asked for a $250 copay and I didn't have it, that one feeling changed everything. It revolutionized my life because I knew that I could no longer be in that position if I was going to be the father that I needed to be. One of the most important rules that I've ever learned in finance is this wonderful thing called compound interest. And it is a beautiful thing, the power of 72, the rule of 72. It is a powerful, powerful thing. It is out there for anybody to know. It is out there for anybody to start to apply in their life. And so I want to encourage all of those who are watching. You could be in a position right now from when you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. You could be underinsured. You may not have any investments, any life insurance, or any of that stuff that we've talked about doing this podcast, but you can start. And so the good part about it, if you're still breathing, if you're still waking up in the morning, you can change your situation. You can change your way of life. I'm going to give you the last minutes as you look right there into that camera and tell them how they can get in touch with you, what they need to do, and more about the National Financial Literacy Campaign. I just read your button there. So you can look right there and you can tell that to the audience.
Well, it just starts with a conversation. You can reach me, Sabrina Noble, at info@sabrinanoble.com. Send me your name, your email address, your phone number. I will make sure you have the tools you need to attend our workshops and get the information you need to properly protect your family, to properly save and pass on wealth. Again, that's info@sabrinanoble.com. email me your information, and I will definitely make sure that you have the tools you need, because we are not free until we're financially free.
So I'm going to leave you with 4 scriptures. Hebrews 13:5 says, keep your life free from the love of money. Keep your life free from the love of money. For he said that I will never leave you nor forsake you. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And Sabrina, money is the only thing that will get men to do what they never said that they would do. So if I said, Sabrina, I'll give you $1 billion to go and slap your mama, money is the only thing that will get you to consider that. I can't say, Sabrina, I'll take you out to eat, I'll give you this. If I say I give you $1 billion, Sabrina's going to think about going to slap her mama. It's the love of money that is the root of all kinds of evil. Wealth that is gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. So those big money paydays, those get rich quick schemes, all of that stuff that people talk about, the Bible says that money takes wings as eagles and flies away. So what is gained hastily will leave even quicker. And then lastly, in Matthew 6:24, no one can serve 2 masters. For either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. You cannot serve both God and money. Now, here's what I found. If you serve God with genuineness in your heart, and you seek his will over your will, and you bow to the Father's will, and you by faith follow him, God takes care of all of this other stuff. Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these other things, that's what the Bible calls it. He calls them things, will be added unto you. So the Bible has a lot to say about money, y'all. I would suggest that you really find out what Jesus had to say about it. And then I hope that you would get the information and education that you need in order to make better financial decisions. So Miss Sabrina Noble, I want to thank you for coming on the set of Studio B. The information has been great. You've given your information. There's going to be a little link down here. If you're watching YouTube, there'll be a little link in the description so that you can get in contact with her and find out more information about their financial literacy course. And how much is it?
It's absolutely complimentary.
It's free. It's all the way free. It's all the way free.
The information is free.
The information is free. So the course is a complimentary course. We'll have a little link at the bottom of the description box to give you some more information on it. But everybody get educated. Get educated, find out what your money is doing, find out how you can be a better steward of your money, because God does not want you borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. God does not want you ducking bill collectors. I share, Sabrina, I answer all my calls because I don't owe nobody. Now, Sister Holman is watching. You know, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and she's got a little mirror under my nose, making sure I'm still breathing, because she know that insurance policy. I'm just playing. Everybody, thank you for joining us here on the set of Studio B. Remember, be empowered, be informed, Studio B.